Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 172. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we're talking about the Nintendo Direct, Peacemaker Season 2, Daredevil Born Again Season 3, Life is Strange, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities.
Yeah, so I'll go first. Been playing more Hollow Knight. Great game. I think the more you progress into the game, the better it gets. I think that's the case for most Metroidvanias to begin with, because it starts very slow. You have no power-ups. You got to learn the whole map. But as you progress more, you get more power-ups. You fight more bosses. The game really starts to click together, where it feels like the smoothest Metroidvania I've played so far. And granted, that's not like a ton. I just played all the 2D Metroid games plus Prime. But I think that's still a good compliment. As you go through each area, backtracking never feels like a chore. It feels like, oh, I got this new power-up. Let me see what's around the corner. Actually, I did play Ori as well, and I feel like this game feels a bit better than Ori, at least one, in terms of just navigating the map and finding collectibles that mean stuff. Because with Metroid, I feel like whenever you're going back to explore areas, most of the time you're just going to get missile tanks or energy tanks. And those are fine. You know, they're good additions to your kit. You know, more health, more missiles. Like, you can't really complain about that. But it is a bit boring, right? And Hollow Knight, you get these charms, which act like passives that you could equip on your guy. And they really change up the gameplay. So, like, oh, your weapon has a longer reach, or your magic damage does a lot more damage if you equip this, and it just makes exploration rewarding more so than maybe something like Metroid, where you go back to get that collectible you've been meaning to get since the beginning of the game, and it's just a missile tank, and it's like, okay. So I do think Hollow Knight really nails that aspect. Another thing it nails are the boss fights. You know, I know Silk Song has been like a big controversial game at the moment in terms of like its difficulty, but I think Hollow Knight really nails its difficulty. I would describe it as more like 80% Metroidvania and maybe like 20% Souls-like. Like, it's just like that little spice that makes it different from the rest. And I think that little spice is enough to make it stand out and have its own identity within all these other Metroidvanias. Because, you know, an indie Metroidvania is a dime in a dozen, right? Like, everyone does that. But Hollow Knight really stands out with, obviously, it's amazing art and gameplay. But I think that little spice of Souls-like, where dying does feel like a real punishment. Like, you have to backtrack to where you are, you lose all your money. But the game does keep it fair, where if you fight this boss enough times, the pattern gets very recognizable. And once you finally beat that boss, it feels really good once you do that. And, you know, the game gives you tools. Like I said, if you're hard blocked on a boss, there's like a million ways to go. Like, there's a lot of like a ton of optional areas to go to. You could get stronger, you could get more health upgrades, you could get more charms that will give you an advantage over a certain boss, since not every charm is going to be situated to every boss. So being able to change your build on the fly is something that this game kind of wants you to do, which I do enjoy a lot. And yeah, just the process of exploring, fighting these bosses. Now I'm starting to like progress more in the game. I think I'm like halfway through. The game is pretty lengthy. Like, I'm around 13 hours into the game at this point, and I think it's like a 20-ish, 25-ish hour game. So yeah, the deeper I go into it, the more I'm really appreciating everything this game does and why so many people have fell in love with this game. Because, you know, I'm starting to get that same feelings as well. Mostly because I think the boss design and area design is just like really well done.
Yes.
So especially where you could rematch bosses, so you can find like a harder version of that boss, and they're very tough, but a ton of fun. Like, I died like a lot, but it was really fun to learn the mechanics, learn the different patterns for each boss. And yeah, it's been a really great time. And it's crazy how much like mechanical depth these bosses could have, when all you could really do is jump, swing your little sword, and like do your magic spell. Like, that's about it. So it's crazy how much mileage to get out of that by having such a simple kit for your character himself, but like the bosses make full extent of that. So yeah, Hollow Knight's a really well-crafted game. I'm happy I'm finally, you know, progressing through the game, hoping to beat the game by next podcast, but we'll see, because there's so many fucking video games coming out. But no, Hollow Knight is fantastic. I've been really enjoying my time with it.
Yeah, I actually played 1 hour of it because I bought it and I was like, oh, we're going to like this concert in New Jersey or whatever. So I was like, let me just buy this for the road trip. Did not play that much because it's very difficult to play Hollow Knight in handheld mode, especially in a car. But I did play 1 hour before we went on that trip. And as someone who is very inexperienced with Metroidvanias and a little bit in the Souls-like genre, it was definitely something that I was super stubborn on with the bosses. I was like, I need to beat these stupid ass big bugs before I leave. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I can see why people are really enjoying it. I don't know if I'm gonna dive more into it because Sonic comes out next week. The week after that is Ghost of Yode. So, but it's definitely something that I want to head back into because I think that is something that I would really enjoy as like my first Metroidvania game, if you will.
Yeah, and I do think the challenge does keep the game like interesting, right? Like it makes you want to like, oh, I got to get through this boss, but there's also other options for the player. And I just like how many options the game really opens up to you. Silksong is the same way, I've heard. So I know a lot of people are like bashing their head against the wall against some really hard bosses on that game, but the devs will just like get good and like explore more, which is like really funny. So next thing I have is Borderlands 4. So this is kind of like the main thing I've been playing a ton of. It came out last week. I'm sure you heard about the headlines with the performance and Randy Pitchford. And yeah, so I guess I'll go on that real quick. Yeah, the performance is bad. Luckily, I am using GeForce Now to play this, so I haven't been faced with any performance issues since GeForce Now uses like 4080s, or I think now it's like 5080s now. They upgraded it for certain regions. But yes, like I know the performance has been terrible for a ton of people. Even with like the GeForce Now 4080s, I still have to put the game down on high. Like I should be running this on like ultra, but like the game was still chug a ton. I have to put DLSS, I have to put frame generation. Like that's not something you should do with a 4080 or a 5080 to begin with. But for me, it's obviously running fine, but I understand like the performance has been such a huge issue with this game. And to the point where like I've seen my brother play it on console, and there's times where it would just run like absolute ass. Like I believe there's memory leaks on the console version, so the longer you play, the worse it runs. I believe other games have had this issue. I think Scarlet and Violet had those issues. Like if you left the game running too long, it would just like fucking die. And obviously Randy Pitchford, I believe he's the CEO of Gearbox. He's always been saying shit for years. He's just like, get a new computer. It's not our problem.
Didn't he say
just stoking
disable
the flames.
The fog? I'm sorry. He said disable the fog or something.
He's like disable the fog. He was giving all these like tips, and I think like fog isn't even an option or something. Yes. Like someone said on like Twitter. So it's been a real shit show with that, with the performance, and Randy Pitchford like definitely not helping at all. He never helps at all when it comes to Borderlands. But and it sucks because this game is really good. So I like Borderlands quite a bit. I played it since the first game on Xbox 360. I've always loved the series. 2, I still think is like one of my favorite looter shooters that like ever still. But ever since Borderlands 2 and Tales from the Borderlands, which I love from Telltale Games, the series has been slowly declining. Pre-sequel was okay. Like it was just a fun little, sort of like big spin-off of Borderlands 2. Then you have Borderlands 3, which is like a whole thing where I thought the writing was really bad. And, I'm one of those weird people where I actually do enjoy a lot of the writing in Borderlands, not because like of the jokes, because a lot of them are still dated. Like if you go back to Borderlands 2, it's very 2012 humor. But I do feel like there was a lot of good stuff there in the main story and some of the side quests. Like I think people really discount it because on the surface it's very memey, but there's some good stuff in there. And Tales from the Borderlands is still one of my favorite Telltale games. Like I love that game. It's great. But since Borderlands 3 came out, the story it became like everything people thought Borderlands was. Like it was like full stupid, full memey, like really dumb character decisions. A lot of characters from Tales of the Borderlands came back in Borderlands 3, but they were barely the same characters because all the writers from Telltale Games like didn't come back for that. The only good thing about Borderlands 3 was the gameplay. Like the gameplay was fun. The gunplay was way improved from Borderlands 2. But to me, it just wasn't really enough. And for a ton of people, it wasn't either. Like a lot of people were very disappointed with Borderlands 3. So now with Borderlands 4, it really had a lot to prove for me and during the first showcase they showed of this game, I'm like, I don't know, it just looked like more Borderlands. But the more they showed of the game, and now me finally getting my hands on it, I could see they did a lot of work to rectify all the issues from Borderlands 3, and it kind of feels like a great combination of all the games so far. The story is a lot more serious. It's still jokey, they still tell jokes, but the subject matter is a lot more serious. They don't have as many jokes within the main story itself, so it leads to a more concise narrative, which I enjoy. it feels more in line with Borderlands 1 than 2, if anything, since that game was a bit more serious as well. But you still got all the wacky stuff. You know, the side quests are still stupid, and that's fine. I think the side quests should have that wacky Borderlands humor, or else it just isn't Borderlands at that point. And then the gunplay, they took all the improvements from 3 and like kind of like turned it up by 11, because it feels great to shoot guns in this game. The movement options you have are great. You could glide now. You could do like an air dash, which is great for mobility. You have like a grapple, so you could like sort of grapple explosive barrels and throw it at enemies, or you could grapple throughout the arenas and go over the place. It kind of reminds me of like Doom Eternal or Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart with how its like movement systems work, which is great. I love those type of movement shooters. So having that in Borderlands really adds a whole level of depth to its combat system. And it's open world. That's sort of like the big thing. This game is now open world, and it's great. You know, it's a really standard open world. You could sort of explore these 3 regions any order you want after the tutorial. And, you know, it's pretty standard check mark, like, you know, oh, go to this location, do this activity. Nothing like groundbreaking for an open world game, but I think it adds a ton to Borderlands, which is all about, you know, for most people, about the gameplay. So having that addictive open world structure plus the addictive looter shooter structure adds a ton to this game. And then like the last 2 points, I think the guns are like, obviously the guns like feel better to like shoot, but also like the stats and like all the randomized guns, like it just feels better as well. Every gun has like maybe like a different ability you could use, from like micro rockets to shooting like low drones and shit. Like there's like so much variety in terms of the weaponry in this game. So every time I get a gun, it feels good. It doesn't feel like just some wasted shit that's just on the ground, which is a problem like Borderlands always had. Like this game, I think every gun feels unique and I want to use it, which is great. And just the character builds. It took another great thing from 3, where each Vault Hunter's like skill tree, they have 3 skill trees, and each of those 3 skill trees would have a different like sort of like action skill you could use, which is like your main ult ability. So they kept that from 3, but kind of expanded the skill tree to be even have more options you could do with your builds. Like I feel like each character could do a ton of different things, which is great. So yeah, like Borderlands 4, besides the optimization, which is such a big thing,
yes.
It's like if you make like a really good plate of food, you're about to serve it to someone and you just drop on the fucking ground. Like it's like, it sucks because this game is great. Like I think it's like one of the best Borderlands they've made, and it just fucking fucked it up at the very end. So hopefully the performance gets a lot better, because that's something I can't really excuse and a ton of people aren't. But once they fix it, I think people will definitely warm up to this game, because people that do have good PCs or can get past the performance are like, no, this game is fucking great. And I agree with that. So, you know, hopefully they fix the performance, you know, lock Randy Pitchford in the stock closet, you know, don't make him talk anymore. But yeah, Borderlands 4, it's really good, man. Like I'm happy how good it is after starting to lose faith in the series after a while. So I'm happy that they really brought it around, took the criticism well, and hopefully they can fix the performance, because that's really the only thing holding this game back at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, so on takeaway is a Twitter account. Anyways, speaking of games that are really buggy and were pretty bad at launch, Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, that too.
I have been playing this game. It released 2 years ago in 2023, and if you guys don't remember, when it launched on PC especially, it was really, really bad, and I talked about it last episode where I did run into some performance issues. Certain glitches would happen, things wouldn't work properly. Now that I finished the game, there have been certain points where I would have to restart the game because something glitched out. Like there was a cutscene that happened as I'm falling down with my lightsaber. Cal somehow detaches, dies, and I can't go through to reactivate the cutscene because obviously that wasn't supposed to happen. So I had to force restart. Yeah. Another thing that happened was when I just couldn't jump for some reason. My fucking jump button just stopped working. I was mashing my X button over and over again, just not working. So I had to first restart there. And then there's other just like visual bugs. You'll notice a lot within the cutscenes, like things popping in and out. White boxes might flicker on like the corners and whatnot. The game's 2 years old. They haven't updated it since last year in October. So they're definitely not going to fix a lot of these issues. So that sucks. But the best about this game is like everything else. Outside of the performance hiccups, me having to force restart a couple of times, the game is very, very good. The narrative, the story, that was something that I was kind of concerned about going into it. Because like I said last episode, you kind of start like in the middle of everything. You're 5 years after Fallen Order. Cal no longer has Marin Grease or what's her name? God damn it. She's like very, very...
The witch lady?
Marin, maybe?
Or the other... Yeah,
Anyways,
I can't remember. It's
you
been
don't
a
have
while.
your group together anymore. So
Yeah.
you're slowly rebuilding that up. But at a certain point within the story, I would say at the start of Act 3, everything turns on its head. It's so fucking insane. And I was honestly very taken aback by it. And that really sold me on this game's narrative. I would say Fallen Order is a lot more consistent within its story. Like there's always like big moments or big things happening. This game, it really does take its time to build up to that. And once it does happen, it's like, holy shit, yes.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, they added a bunch of lightsaber stances. You could have 50 Cal Kestis with a fucking blaster randomly. I was like, that's kind of weird. He has the crossguard, which is pretty much Kylo Ren's lightsaber, but it hits really hard, pretty slow to go and nail those attacks. And then obviously the dual wield, and you start with the double bladed and the standard lightsaber. So you could really play the game how you want. There's also other customization options, like cosmetically. Cal's whole fit could be dripped out. Like you could change how he looks. You could give him a beard. You could not give him a beard. BD-8's also customizable. There's just so much that you could do within that department that if you really like to make your lightsaber look pretty and everything like that, you are free to do that within this game. One thing that I really didn't get a chance to do was the side missions, because at one point I was trying to find one and I just couldn't fucking do it, and I was just like, forget it. I would just keep chugging along with the story, and I was still able to really get myself deep into the gameplay mechanics and all that other stuff. But obviously, if you want to grind out for like skill points, upgrade the other trees within your combat, survivability, etc., you could really do that. And yeah, there's just a lot to the gameplay that I think really expands from what Fallen Order did. So if you really like the first game and you haven't played this one, check it out. I mean, I think now it's like $30 across the board. Like it's not that expensive. So yeah, if you really find this game at a good deal, check it out. Like I said, there are still big performance bugs and glitches and whatnot, but at this point it's like, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, you just got to deal with it.
Yeah. So it does suck. So I do hope for Star Wars Jedi 3, whenever that comes out, that they are able to launch it at a really good state, especially on PC, because I know Fallen Order was also a disaster on PC when it launched. So, yeah. Now my comic books. I've been reading a couple of trades and a couple of one-shots. So obviously, if you are a comic book nerd, you probably picked up the Deadpool Batman comic. This is the Marvel version. They're going to do a DC version within November, which is pretty much Batman Deadpool instead of Deadpool Batman. So the headline story with Batman and Deadpool is written by Zeb Wells and drawn by Greg Capullo. And I don't read a lot of Deadpool, but I was honestly kind of surprised by how much I liked the way that he was written in here. And obviously Batman is Batman. And then there's a couple of other stories in here. One with Captain America and Wonder Woman. Another one with Green Arrow and Daredevil. And then I think, there's another one with Crypto and Jeff the Shark. There's no words in it, but bro, it is pretty cute. It is honestly a really fun little story about them just hanging out, playing volleyball together. This is a really, really cool one shot, and I'm glad that Marvel and DC were able to put it together. Another book that I've been reading from the DC side is Absolute Superman. I read Absolute Batman, I think it was last episode or the episode before, and I got Absolute Superman here, and pretty much the same thing with the other Absolute titles. They take one key thing about the character and they really twist it around. So for example, Superman, he doesn't land on Earth when he's a kid. He's still a kid on Krypton, so he really does get to remember and really live through that traumatic experience, and you also get to see how Krypton really blew up on itself. It's sort of like sabotaging itself with sort of pollution and just greed and capitalism, sort of like what's going on Earth right now. There's like a lot of parallels going on there, and it jumps back and forth a lot, especially towards the end of this 6-issue trade paperback, where it goes from Krypton to Earth and really does go back and forth. So yeah, and you're kind of just thrown right into it. Like you are thrown right into Superman just saving a bunch of people, but you don't know exactly why, and he's not even like that familiar with his powers yet, because when he's on Krypton, he doesn't really have like the super strength, the super speed, and all of that stuff. So when he wakes up on Earth, that's when all of that stuff unlocks for him. And at that point, he's like pretty old. He's like probably around our age, like mid-20s, maybe even a little bit younger. So, he's still trying to figure out all of that stuff. And he's kind of afraid of like what he'll do with his powers, because he knows that he's much stronger than these humans, but he still wants to do the right thing. He doesn't kill anyone, but he's afraid that he might do that. So yeah, very, very excited to see where this will go. Hopefully by the time the next trade paperback comes out, I still remember what the fuck's going on. because that is a issue with collecting trades and reading in trades, is that you have to wait a really, really long time for them to come out, and then also for them to continue within trades. So, I can see why a lot of people keep up with these single issues, but I already have a lot of stuff on my pull list, and adding a extra $5 every month might not sound like a lot, but if I'm doing that for Absolute Superman, Absolute Batman, etc., it's gonna add up. So I'm gonna just wait for the trades for that. Anyways, last trade that I read is a really, really old one. This is Spider-Man: Death of Jane DeWolff. This is written by Peter David, rest in peace. He is the original creator of Spider-Man 2099. And this is one of his more iconic stories for Spider-Man, and I just wanted to read it, and I didn't know that Daredevil was in it, so that was a nice little plus there.
There you go.
But you pretty much follow what happened to Jean DeWolff, and you really get to see how it changes Spider-Man and sort of him investigating like what's happening. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very different story, not just because it was written so long ago, but because of how it's structured. Not to give away any spoilers to anyone that wants to read it, but you're pretty much following Spider-Man and Daredevil, and Spider-Man is also wearing the black suit. So that is a pretty cool little thing that they got going on here. I don't think it really enhances or hinders the story in any way, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, you're pretty much just seeing how they're going to solve who the fuck killed Jean DeWolff. Then a couple of things that I watched. First up is The Long Walk. This movie was getting really high numbers on Rotten Tomatoes and a lot of praise across the board from a lot of people. I believe it's based off of a Stephen King book. Have not read that. But, David Johnson, he was in the Alien movie, most recent one, and Cooper Hoffman, I believe he is also a pretty well-known person within Hollywood. So I was like, you know what? Let me go and see what the hell's going on. And I don't think it's necessarily like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I think that a lot of people really enjoyed the performances by our main two leads, but I felt like the story of them. So pretty much The Long Walk is about like this like dystopian US where like everyone's fucking broke, everyone's poor, the government holds like a lot of control over everything.
Just America now.
And The Long Walk holds a competition where one person from every single state will go on this long walk, and pretty much a battle royale. The last person standing wins. They get like all of this fortune. They get one wish, everything. Pretty much they are able to get out of whatever situation that they're in. And you're following these two characters and they're sort of developing this friendship with each other. That's pretty much like the main thing about the movie. And I felt like that there could have been more to like the world building, right? Like we're told all of these things about like the world, and you're kind of having to put context clues together, but we really don't really get to see a lot of it. Like I think in the book there's a lot more interesting things. I'm taking all of this from to anyone that knows Coney from like Smash Brothers and like Twitch. He wrote like a really long review on Letterboxd, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's kind of interesting to see his perspective, because he really loves the book. So for him to be like really negative on the film because they changed a lot, I was like, oh, okay, like that's kind of interesting. I still think that if you don't know anything like myself, you will still go into it, have a really great time. I think the final act is like insane, especially like the final bits between Cooper and David. They really like bring this movie to life, and without them too, it's like there wouldn't be a movie. So yeah, I'm really, really happy I saw it, but it's definitely one of my more disappointing watches of 2025, but it's still good. Last thing I watched was The Paper. To anyone that doesn't know what this is a Office spin-off show.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, when I first heard about it, obviously I think when everyone first heard about like a Office spin-off TV show, they're like, this is going to be fucking bad. Like, what the fuck? No one cares about The Office anymore, yada, yada, yada. But it was getting really good reviews, and my girlfriend really wanted to watch it. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's watch it. And as a journalism graduate, they are trying to revitalize this newspaper and try to make it an actual newspaper and not have it be, like this like clickbaity sort of bullshit paper that no one's really reading anymore, right? So it kind of follows this group of people that they're trying to really bring that to life, and there's a lot of shenanigans, a lot of stupid things going on. I think there's 10 episodes, 30 minutes each. It's really fun. It's a lot of, entertaining gags. I think the jokes are pretty funny, and also the characters. The characters are very, very good, and if you haven't watched The Office, which really you don't have to, because there's only one character, Oscar, and he he is back from the previous show, but he doesn't really mention a lot of the stuff from that. It's really about this new show and building it up into something great. And honestly, I cannot wait to see what they do next. I hope that season 2 is just as good as this first season, because I was honestly really taken aback by how well executed that they were able to put this together, right? Because, when you have a show like The Office that was really culturally, significant within like the 2010s, I would say, and then you bring it back in some way, shape, or form within this new series, and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna do our own thing, and yeah, it is a lot of fun. And if you have Peacock, definitely check it out. I think that is something worth watching. Okay.
Yeah, it's I was gonna bring up. It's just really rare for like show revivals or show spinoffs to actually be good, because I've seen it happen so many times where either a revival comes out or a sequel spinoff comes out and it's just kind of ass. But recently they've been doing pretty well. Like I've heard pretty good things about the King of the Hill one, where obviously it's not as good as the original, but people like are enjoying it. Same thing with The Paper. So that's good on them, because it's very hard to sort of get out of the shadow of such like a big show, especially like The Office. So, good on the writers for just making it its own thing while still like, borrowing elements that made The Office good to begin with, right? Yeah. I never watched it, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of stupid ass characters, a lot of dumb gags going on, but the characters are there and they're really, really fun to watch. So let's talk about Peacemaker. Peacemaker season 2, episodes 4 and 5. We are building up to episodes 6, 7, and 8, which are the big episodes that James Gunn has been talking about and really hyping up, because he's like, yeah, like this shit goes crazy, and apparently it'll lead into the Man of Tomorrow movie. So yeah, just based on these 2 episodes, obviously I think episode 3 is still like my favorite, because obviously a lot of shit happens within the other dimension, but we're back here within the original dimension, and Chris is still trying to figure out like, what the fuck can I do here? Episode 4 has Argus invade his home, and I don't know how the fuck Chris got out, because I'm just like, these guys are so bad at their job. How
he just fucking left.
How is the house not surrounded? What is going on here? But just seeing that build out, and that relationship between Flag Senior and also Hardcore, to sort of have him go through her to get to Peacemaker. He's obviously very desperate to get his hands on Chris, because he killed his son, and just to see all of that stuff play out has been a joy and a lot of fun.
Yeah, so yeah, it's basically like a bunch of lead up to whatever like the big finale is gonna be. Just Peacemaker or Chris being at his breaking point with like this dimension, feeling like he doesn't belong, when obviously he has people that do care about him, like Economos or ads and freaking Vigilante. So like, obviously they still like care about him, and they do like matter to him, but he just sees himself like, oh, he doesn't belong here anymore, and he wants to go to that other dimension. And I feel like these 2 episodes he's been really like stuck on that point where it's like, I have to be there, even though that kind of goes against like everything he's kind of been working towards in this dimension. He's a better guy than he was before, but obviously people like Rick Flag Senior aren't going to take that shit, because he still killed his son at the end of the day, even though it's mostly Amanda Waller's fault for like any of this stuff happening, and they mentioned that in this episode, but you're gonna get emotional, I guess, when it's your son, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a really good episode. I like the Hardcore being really stuck in the mud, or how she feels about Chris and Rick Flag. Like, it's just a bunch of emotions for her to process. So she's still being like, I like you, but I don't like you. I don't know. So she's been like having a hard time with that. And just seeing like sort of the origin of this doorway being that Chris's dad really wasn't even smart. He kind of just took a bunch of alien tech. I thought that was pretty funny as well, because I also thought he like invented all that shit, but he just shot like an alien and like got its doorway to like this like crazy dimension. So I still think something's up with that dimension. Like at first I'm like, oh yeah, it's just whatever, like perfect dimension. But I saw some people on Twitter and stuff being like, oh yeah, this might be like the racist dimension where like no minorities exist. I'm like, huh? And then I look back and like, yeah, I don't think I've seen a single minority in any of these like other world sort of like when screen time. So I wonder if that's what they're leading up to, being like, I was like really fucked up dimension, you just haven't seen it yet. That would be really funny.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying this like sort of character growth for Peacemaker, where in the first season he was like this just like blockhead, just like, oh, justice, just he's just so different now from the first season to this season. And I think big credit to John Cena for really I think nailing the role. You know, he's really improved as an actor, and like all these quieter moments for Peacemaker have been showing through this season, like him self-doubting himself, not knowing what he really stands for. You know, he's been doing great. Like I think John Cena has been really killing it as Chris Smith here.
Yeah, John Cena as an actor has really, he's come a long way, I will say. You know, like
he's come a very long way from like, you know, he's always been like, you know, just like the big guy, you know, he's wrestler guy. But I think now that he's starting to do more serious roles, I'm like, yeah, you know what, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
I think that he's really come into his own within his acting career, which is great. You know, he might still do a few bad or silly movies every now and then, but I think the role of Peacemaker has really shown what his range can be. And him writing down that note before he takes the one-way trip to the dimension at the end of episode 5 really shows that like he has changed as a person, and he feels like he can't catch a break within his home dimension. So he's like, let me just go to this new one where everything seems so fine and shiny at the other side of the rainbow kind of deal. But we'll see where that stuff leads, because I did see that stuff on Twitter where people are like, wait, is this like the racist dimension? Is this why they're good people? Because there are no people to be racist towards and shit like that. I'm like, wait a second. That could make sense. And I hope that is not the deal, because that'll mean that the whole twist has been revealed to us for a while now. But yeah, I'm just excited to see where this season will go from here. But freaking what's his name, Michael Rooker's character, Red Saint Wild, oh my god, bro, I don't know why James Gunn always puts him in these stupid ass fucking roles, but I love it. Just having that side plot between him and Eagly and all of that bullshit where he's like, he's the prime eagle. I was like, what is he yapping about? And then within the latest episode, in fucking episode 5, he just goes Super Saiyan or whatever. I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I guess that explains why Eagly's so fucking strong, because I'm like, it's just like a super bird, and I guess it is. So he like called the other eagles to like destroy this man. I'm like, what is this subplot?
Yeah, because you know, when they showed that eagle that's like all bloody, I was like, whoa, what the hell? No way he just killed him like that. Because obviously, you know, Eagly is like kind of like a main character at this point.
Yeah, he's a main character, bro. My boy Eagly.
Can't just kill him off like that. But obviously, you know, that whole scene of him just getting torn up by the other eagles was very, very funny. But yeah, you know, what's it called? I love that Ads is still trying to bring Chris back down to earth. Obviously, you know, Chris is still doing like his own thing, and he's still all up in his feelings, which is, you know, fair, because he's been a bad person for a while and he wants to do good, and he feels like he could do that within this other dimension, which we will see within, you know, the rest of the season. And I hope that whatever that twist is, whether it is true or not, but I just hope that once it's revealed to Chris that he realizes that, oh shit, maybe I did have everything back at home, and, you know, this whole new dimension isn't really meant for me. And I wonder what's going to happen with that new family, you know, with his dad and his brother. It's like, are they gonna find out that like he's a fucking fake and like he actually killed the other Chris and shit like that? Like, I just want to see how all that stuff will happen.
Yeah, it's definitely been all leading up to these last few episodes, and I think the buildup has been really good in terms of character development and seeing like how broken Chris is at this point, with both emotionally and like physically. So it's gonna be nice to see like what happens next within this dimension and how they're gonna handle it. Either everyone kind of storming that dimension, or Chris just figuring out, oh shit, this place kind of sucks. So I guess we'll find out in the next few episodes, because you know, James Gunn has been really hyping that up. So I'm really excited to see like where the story goes from here, because I've been enjoying the season a ton. So I'm excited to see like sort of like the climax of it, you know.
Yeah, you know, and I just have to give James Gunn credit, because obviously he wrote this entire season, and it's kind of crazy how he's able to juggle so many characters and still give pretty much all of them something to do. Like, we see Rick Flag Sr. messing around with that android lady now, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on there? Like, that's kind of interesting. I kind of like it. I kind of don't. Like, what is happening? But, you know, just props to Gunn for really being able to juggle all these characters, because, you know, you could say that like Vigilante isn't really getting much, which is, you know, kind of true, but still, anytime Vigilante is on screen and he has something to say or really, you know, do something, it's always like on point, and I just love it.
Yeah, especially like, you know, even other joke characters like the bird blindness guy got some character development. It's like, you did the right thing by like booking Chris so he wouldn't get like beat into a pulp. So it's nice to see like all of these characters, like you said. But he's always been good at that. James Gunn's always been good at taking like a huge cast and feeling like they all have some importance and like, obviously, like some of them are joke characters, but I guess it's still some time in the sun. And James Gunn has always done that extremely well. I mean, that was like my major concern for Superman when I first watched it. When I'm like, oh, this is like so many characters and things happening, but it ended up working like extremely well. So I always give it to James Gunn for being able to do that balance of multiple characters, because that's not a thing that like anyone else could like be super good at, and he nails it almost every time. So yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the news of things. We're going to start with the big one. We're not saving this to the end. We're going to start with the Nintendo Direct from September 12th, 2025. There's a lot of angles to take this on. We could talk about the Direct. We could talk about Nintendo's pricing, obviously the announcements, etc., etc. So we'll start with the general, right? So I watched this live Friday or Thursday morning, whatever the fuck. And I was like, yeah, honestly, after that, like, 60-minute, hour-long Direct, which is like the longest that they've done ever, I thought that was pretty good. Obviously, I think some people really overhyped it, where it was like, oh my god, a new Animal Crossing, new Smash Brothers, which like I kind of bought into some of that hype too. But at the end of the day, by the end of it, when it was like, oh yeah, it's a new Fire Emblem game, I was like, oh okay, like this is just a standard Nintendo Direct, just with a ton of announcements and not something that's like super big or super grandiose, which I think is what some people were expecting, which is fair. But at the same time, this is just them announcing games for their holiday slate, which is what I expected. In like my real expectations, and not me sort of clouding them with like Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, all this other stuff. So overall, I thought that it was a pretty good Direct, because they did announce a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I thought the same way. I'm like, oh, that was a pretty good Direct. Like, really, when it ended, I'm like, yeah, that was good. It was like a ton of first-party stuff. I'm excited for what they showed. A lot of like, crazy stuff they showed, like unconventional stuff that you would expect from a Nintendo console for its first year. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Then I went online and people calling it the worst Direct ever. I'm like, okay. So like, I do have thoughts about, certain things that are pretty negative, like with the pricing and stuff, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But when people have these high expectations, I kind of get it a bit more with this Direct, because it is the first major Direct for a new console, so you are expecting big heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it a bit more, and I don't really blame people for thinking this way, because Nintendo is very weird about who develops their games. Like, you have to like kind of sleuth it out for yourself.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, the Odyssey team made Bonanza, right? And there's rumors that they split to make a 3D Mario and Bonanza at the same time. I don't know if that's true. All we know for sure is that the Odyssey team made Bonanza. So they're out, right?
Yeah.
At least for now, for a 3D Mario game. Because that was basically the big 3D platformer for the first year. Then you had Tears of the Kingdom. That came out only 2 years ago. They're not going to release a new Zelda for at least another 3 or 2 years, right? So 3D Zelda is also out. For Smash Brothers, Sakurai is making Air Riders, unless they're doing like a Smash Ultimate Deluxe or something without Sakurai, which I highly doubt they would do. That means Smash is also out of the table. So me just thinking about that for like 2 seconds, I'm like, yeah, we're not going to see any of the heavy hitters that people really want. The only one that really seemed acceptable was like a new Animal Crossing, because it's been a while since New Horizons came out, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a while since New Horizons came out. And what else did people really want? I think that's it. I think it was like Animal Crossing, Smash, 3D Mario, 3D Zelda. So yeah, just with all that thoughts in my head after before watching the Direct, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna show any of this. Like, the only wild card would be a 3D Mario, because of the rumors I've heard before. But I was like really doubting it, and I was basically right. And I think that's why some people are kind of down with the first year of the Switch 2. Like, honestly, I think it's just as good as the Switch 1s. It's just more unconventional. Like, instead of a 3D Mario, we got 3D Donkey Kong. Instead of Breath of the Wild, we got Metro Prime 4, which is like that more adult game that took fucking forever to develop, so it's cross-gen now.
Yeah.
So like, it's just different, but like, I don't think it's like bad at all. But I guess we'll get more into that with the rest of Directs. But yeah, I can understand more why people's expectations were higher than normal. Mm-hmm. But I still think if you thought about it just a bit, you would be like, oh, that's like fucking impossible. They're not going to reveal all these things. But yeah, that's just me.
All right, so let's get into the first part of the Direct. They came out swinging with the Mario 40th anniversary titles of games. I'll just blaze through them. So first up, they showed off the Mario 2 movie, which is now officially called Super Mario Galaxy Movie. Shout out to that Old Spice leaker. I can't believe that shit was real. The movie is scheduled to come out April 2026. And then we got, with the Mario Galaxy movie, might as well re-release Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 for the original Nintendo Switch. That's coming out very, very soon on October 2nd. You could either get them $40 each on the eShop, or you could get them physically for $70 as a physical copy. Sold out at select retailers already. So if you're looking for that physical copy, good luck. They are also releasing Rosalina's storybook. It doesn't come with the extra pages that the Switch version is going to have, but that book is only going to be $25, which I have pre-ordered on Amazon. And then also amiibos for the Mario Galaxy re-release, Mario and Rosalina. April 2nd, those are coming out, and they're going to be $40 each. Next game for the Mario 40th anniversary, we got Mario Tennis Fever coming February 12th, 2026. It's going to be like a story mode, online play, bunch of other weird Mario Wonder gimmicks in there as well. That's going to be $70. They are releasing a Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition with Bella Park. I think it's just a bunch of random levels. Some of them are versus, some of them are co-op. It seems like that it's just a bunch of random things that they had in mind for Mario Wonder, but they couldn't fit into like the main game. And they're just like, you know what, we'll just throw that in there. That's coming out spring 2026, along with a talking flower product. I'm not exactly sure how much that's going to cost, but that will release sometime in the spring as well. Last thing releasing in the spring, which is probably the thing that I'm most hyped for, which is the Yoshi and the Mysterious Book game, pretty much a sequel to Yoshi Woolly World, Yoshi's Crafted World, and it has this really cute flower, really cute art style. Seems like a really feels good 2D platformer. I'm super duper excited for it, but yeah, I mean, that slate for like the Mario 40th anniversary, I think is fine. I think what they announced is pretty cool. The prices seem a little shot in some regards. I think Mario Tennis Fever at $70 is a bit stretching it. It seems like that Nintendo is really trying to push that price point for their games from now on the Switch 2, which is kind of fair when you look at the industry as a whole. And you know, obviously, I think people would have loved it if that game was $60. I think that is like a lot fairer of a price. And then having Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 re-releases of a bunch of Wii games that they, you know, touched up, added some things here and there, $70. That's also a little crazy. But what did you think of these announcements?
So the knee-jerk reaction was that, you know, I was very excited to see Galaxy 1 and 2. Obviously, you could already play Galaxy 1 on the 3D All-Stars, but that was a limited release. I know it's still, like, out there. Like, you still find it pretty easily. But, you know, for the most part, you know, limited release. And then Galaxy 2 was just never re-released. And I'm like, where's Galaxy 2? You know, people have those questions for a very long time. So now we finally got Galaxy 2. I was over the moon. I'm like, fuck yeah. You know, I love Galaxy 2. I love Galaxy 1.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't really until after the Direct when the prices really started to come out. It was like $40 each or $70 for the physical bundle. I was just like, what the fuck? I was literally like gobsmacked, bro. I was like, what the hell? Like, that is very expensive for this re-release. I think the price point that most people would have been comfortable with was $40 just for both of them. I'll give them like $50 because Nintendo is always going to be greedy.
Yeah.
But I was not expecting $70. $70 is fucking insane, especially for what it offers. Like, they released some overview trailer where it's like, oh, we added a new storybook for Galaxy 2 and we upped the visuals just a tiny bit. But I don't think that's worth $70. I mean, I'm a hypocrite because I fucking bought it.
Yes.
So like,
so just to preface, me and Damian both pre-ordered it, but we're still gonna complain about it.
I'm still going to complain about it. But I like Galaxy 1 is like my favorite game of all time, right? Like I wasn't not going to buy it. Even though I do have it for 3D All-Stars, you know, it's nice to have Galaxy 1 and 2 together in like, you know, one thing. So I was always going to buy it regardless. But yeah, the $70 I can't really defend. That is like an extremely high price. I think if there were more remastered, like the Metroid Prime remaster, like that is a great bar for any remaster at this point. You know, that game is basically the same game as Metroid Prime original, but the graphics are really touched up. Like the game looks fantastic on Switch 1. And you know, that's why I'm excited for Metroid Prime 4 because it's just going to be more of that. You know, if Galaxy was repainted in a really nice coat of paint and it looked like, whoa, this looks like a Switch 2 game, or maybe they added like an extra game mode where you like play as fucking Rosalina or something, like that would have been sick, right? But no, it's basically just 1 and 2 almost straight ported to the Switch, for $70. So I definitely understand the outrage for this. These games are great, and you know, if you've never played Galaxy 1 or 2 before, like I do think it's fucking worth it because those games are like the best games ever. But if you have played Galaxy 1 and 2 before, and maybe you have them on the Wii U or on Wii or, you know, Dolphin, you know, that probably is like the better place to play them. But yeah, I think the price is a lot, and that kind of is the running theme with the Switch 2 in general. For me, it's not really a game problem. It's just like a price problem for a lot of these products where, like, I don't mind paying the price, but I do feel like the Switch 2 has become such a premium to do anything on. Like, I feel like if I breathe near this thing, I'm going to be charged $10. Like, it's crazy how much they're charging you for everything with this console. But Yeah, that's just my thing on the pricing for this game in particular.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
Look, just to get it out, obviously me and Damian both pre-ordered the $70 Mario Galaxy Duo Bundle, and the reason why I don't think boycotts will ever work for Nintendo is because I view them as like the Disney of like the games industry, where it's
Basically.
like they've been around for so long and they're so big. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll boycott it, right? And then it's like, okay, but what if I want to buy it used later? It's probably going to cost me like a fucking arm and a leg, because this might be a sort of limited release. We don't know exactly what they're doing with this Mario Galaxy re-release, because 3D All-Stars, they were out the gate. Yes, it's going to be a limited release. It's going to be in retailers for X amount of time, and then once it's gone, which is exactly what happened. Now, we don't know if they're doing the same exact thing with Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, but pre-orders have already sold out at certain retailers. So it's like, okay, yeah, like maybe it is a sort of limited physical release thing. And if you want to play Galaxy 2 on your Switch, if they ever pull it from the eShop and you want it physically, you're going to have to buy that bundle. So that's why I think doing boycotts for Nintendo is like really, really hard. But then again, obviously vote with your wallet, do what you want to do. Because, I've been boycotting fucking Pokemon games for like years and years and years. And, finally with Legends EA, it seems like that they're finally getting a finished working product out when that game comes out. But yeah, $40 per game, a little crazy. $70 for both of them. You know what? Thanks for saving me $10. You know what? That's cool.
Yeah.
The $40 amiibos is like the thing that I'm like most concerned about, because I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's also fucked.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, what do those amiibos even do? They're coming out so much later. Also, they're coming out April 2nd. Like, that is not fucking April Fool's joke either. It's like, what is going on here? And obviously they are like oversized amiibos, so maybe that's where like the extra cost comes from. But at the same time, it's like, what is their functionality? Are they just Mario and Rosalina? Like, what is going on here? But them trying to really force this $70 price down everyone's throats is like, I think it's just Nintendo trying to play business, and them just trying to really get the most out of the situation with the tariffs. And obviously software will push hardware. They're probably facing a much greater loss on the Switch 2 than they would normally be comfortable with. But if they're going to be selling these games and accessories at like a much higher sort of margin, then it's like, okay, then that's where they'll make up for it. Because, obviously, if you look back on like Mario Galaxy's like release over the years, I think when it was on the Wii U eShop, those games were like $20 each. But now Nintendo is in a much more comfortable state. The Switch 2 sold like millions and millions of consoles. You're like, you know what? We could fuck around a little. We could like nickel and dime our fan base. And you know what? They're going to complain. But at the end of the day, we're going to be the fucking clowns, and we're still going to buy it. So,
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, I should have saw it coming, because it's like Skyward Sword HD and Donkey Kong Country Returns HD were both 60, and that was just one game, and they also barely did anything to those games. So having Galaxy 1 and 2 be 70 shouldn't be that much of a shocker, but still, like, it still hits the soul, bro. It's still like, what are we doing?
It's also just like Nintendo's view of their products, right? They're like, oh yeah, the Nintendo seal of quality. These games are timeless. They're so great, which is true most of the time. When it comes to things like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, those games have been proven time and time again over the years that people will go back to those and still say that, yeah, this is like one of the best 3D platformers, one of the best Mario games of all time. And when it comes to Mario Tennis Fever, I'm not exactly sure if that'll be the exact same case, but that is a brand new, fully developed Mario Tennis game. And that's what they think is worth it. The sort of dynamic pricing, people are bringing that back up, because I think that that's just something, to be honest, I think that is something that fucking Doug Bowser pulled out of his ass and was like, this sounds like a pretty decent excuse, right? Like, we're going to charge $80 for Mario Kart, and then we're going to charge $70 for Donkey Kong, because 80, we're going to get that extra $10 out of you, because what the fuck else are you going to play on your Switch 2 at launch? Nothing really. So, you know what? Cough that extra bit of money up. So, yeah, obviously, vote with your wallet, like I said before, but I think with certain things, when it comes to Nintendo, they're going to get away with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, like, I knew that Doug Bowser thing was bullshit when he said, variable pricing. I'm like, so you just mean 70 or 80, right? Like, nothing's ever going to go down to 60 again.
Yeah.
Because the next game, I guess we're just talking about Mario Tennis Fever, like, probably should be a $60 game. $70 for a tennis game is kind of pushing it. Though it does look like they are putting more extra effort into this game than the other sports games. I know people are pretty disappointed with the Switch lineup of Mario sports games. Like, I know Mario Tennis Aces people kind of liked. Mario Super Rush, the golf one, I know people were okay on. Like some of them didn't like it. Strikers, no, everyone hated. Like everyone hated the new Strikers. So I think I've only bought the golf one and I had fun with it. But there just isn't a lot there.
Yeah.
So what they showed me in this direct was it does look like this game has a ton more content with the cool adventure mode where you get turned into babies and you gotta like sort of go around this world and relearn your tennis skills. That's cool. You sort of have like this battle like tower mode where you could do different game modes. You have like wonder seeds to collect. I'm like, okay. So like this game does look like it has more content than usual, but still $70 for a tennis game is a bit much, but I guess we'll see once it actually does come out. But it does look like they are putting the extra effort to actually make the game good. And I think that's what Nintendo really has to do for even their spin-off games. I feel like they really had to bring their A game if they're going to start charging $70 for like every single game, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to be expecting a lot more from them if they're going to charge this high amount. Even though Mario Tennis does look good, is it $70 good? I don't know. You have to wait and see, right?
If Nintendo were to do like a Mario Hoops 3-on-3 like sequel for like the Switch 2, it's like, oh my God, like that sounds great, right? But I feel like with their recent formula of sports games, like you said, they've been really lackluster and haven't really hit the same way that they did back then. Maybe that is nostalgia talking. Maybe it's just the way that they were designed back then. But I feel like a lot of the sports titles, because I bought all of them except for Strikers, even though I really love Mario Strikers, both on the Wii and the GameCube. I just didn't buy the new one because there was just so much other shit coming out. But, the other two games with Mario Golf and Mario Tennis, it was like, okay, yeah, like those were fun, but I didn't really see myself playing them longer than, I guess, the first week or so, right? So like,
basically,
I don't know if I'm gonna buy this shit at $70 when it comes out. I don't know what else is gonna be coming out during that period, February 2026. So we'll see if I actually make the plunge. But then again, Nintendo games never go down in price unless really the sales are that bad, So.
And that's kind of the worst thing too. Like you just brought it up, where Nintendo games also never go on sale. So the higher price a Nintendo game is, the worse it's gonna get. Like for Mario Kart World, it's like, oh, like 20% off, and it's like fucking $60 still or something. I'm like, all right, cool, Nintendo games raising the price is so much more detrimental than like any other game publisher or developer raising the price up, because it's never gonna go on fucking sale. So it just makes the whole pricing structure even worse, right? So. But, not to be too negative, let's talk about, we got like the Wonder DLC. That's cool. Again, it's more like multiplayer co-op, which is fine. It looks like there is single player components to this, which is great. You could collect more of these like Bell flowers or whatever. So that's neat. I love Wonder, so having more Wonder is always a good thing. The multiplayer modes, like they look fun for like a day, right? Like you play with your friends, you try them all out, and probably never play it again. So I'm hoping the single player portion of this is like at least substantial enough to kind of justify like probably the $20 is going to cost. So I guess we'll see when it comes out. But more Wonder content, can't complain about that. So
yeah. All right, so we'll move on. I mean, I guess on like the price thing, right? Kirby Air Riders, the fucking amiibos are like $50 each. They do have detachable riders though. So, when you buy one of those $50 amiibos, it comes with the character and also the sort of car that it is on, and you could swap them between the two. I guess that might be the extra cost that I'm coping with here. I haven't bought any of them. I haven't pre-ordered any of them, but just seeing like a $50 price tag next to a amiibo is like a little crazy. And the two that they did show off during this direct with Kirby and Waddle Dee, they will be available November 20th on launch day.
Yeah, like the $50 amiibo is also fucking insane. Like just because, like technically it is two amiibo, I guess, because you could detach Kirby or Waddle Dee from like the Warp Star and the other vehicle. Yeah. So that's cool. But it's also like, is it $50 cool? No, I would rather just buy a game at that point. I will give the new amiibos, like they look a lot better than the older ones. Like I have a bunch of my older amiibos like on my shelf there, and some of them do look really bad. Like especially a lot of the human characters, like they look really derpy. So I will say like a lot of the newer amiibos are just a higher quality sculpt. Like did you do a good job with that? But it does feel more in line with collectors now. Like if you're a big fan of that IP or game, then go ahead. It's not really something for everyone anymore. Yeah. Which I'm like two ways about it, because I'm like if you like it, and you like that character, you want to see that character be done justice. So paying the higher price point to have a better model probably is more important than just like, oh, it's like a $12 shitty looking Shulk, right? So I'm like two ways of it. Like $50 is still like a lot. Like I think $30 is a good price point for a high quality amiibo, which I think the Donkey Kong was like $30, I believe. So
yeah, it was like around like $20 maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I just bought it. I didn't care.
Like I think that's like a better price point because like the quality is way higher, but you also aren't like getting like scammed.
Yes.
So, and oh yeah, also I forgot to talk about like actually Yoshi. Yoshi looks really fucking good, by the way.
Yes.
Love the art style. It looks really good. You got Mr. E.
Yes, Mr. E. Mr. E was so funny because I was just like, wait, that's a Smash player. I know him.
Yeah, like Mr. E. So yeah, that was crazy. My only concern with this game is I hope it's not like too baby game. Like,
yes.
I like Princess Peach Showtime. I thought it was all right, but like it was like baby game, and this game is kind of giving me the same vibe where it's like, oh, you could like touch the flower and do weird. I'm like, okay, could I like jump and shit? like I just hope it's like a platformer like Woolly World was, and they don't do something like too weird with it because the art style is like it looks so good. Like I'm in love with the art style, and I guess Yoshi games always have to have like a gimmicky art style, but hey man, it looks great. So definitely I'm excited to see more of this Yoshi game. Again, is it worth $70? I don't know. I guess we'll see when it comes out. That's the like sort of thing I ask yourself with every first party Nintendo game at this point. But putting that aside, I think the Yoshi game looks great. And I know people were saying, oh, it's kind of weird they ended a Mario 40th anniversary with a Yoshi game, but like whatever. It's Mario adjacent. It's fine.
Yeah. Hey, like it had me excited. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, me excited too. I think it looks good. So
all right. Do you want to pick something from this long ass list I got here?
I guess I'll go for Hades 2.
Okay.
So yeah, Hades 2 is like officially coming out. It's going on. It's going to be physical November 20th. So if you want to buy that, that's you could do that. I think it's like $30 physical, or maybe $40. I forget. It's like $30 digital, I believe. And yeah, I mean, I can't say anything like bad about Hades 2 at all. That game is fantastic. I put in like 30 hours when it first launched on early access last year, and I could have easily put in another 20 just on that early access build alone. And that was like the first like launch update they put for it, right? Now we're like a bunch of updates out. The final updates coming out September 25th. So there's probably even more content at this point. This is it's like a top 5 roguelite, man. Like this game is so good. It was probably going to play well on the Switch too. You get like 120 frames, which is great. For a game as fast paced as this, you kind of want like every frame you could get. I highly recommend this to anyone that's sort of new to roguelites, especially Hades 1, because the more you play, the easier it gets. Which is great. You could buy more lives. You could buy just so many upgrades for your characters, so each run feels a bit easier to play through. And the game is more story based, so you have more story progression as well. It's just like a really well crafted roguelite for people that might not be into the genre, but also has a ton of options for people like me who are really into the genre. Like you could turn up the difficulty to be extremely hard. You could have like a bunch of unlockables, a bunch of weapons to master. So yeah, Hades 1 and Hades 2 especially are just like mastercraft like roguelites, and I'm excited to see it finally come out after like almost like a full year in early access. I think a full year and then some in early access. So but hey, Supergiant, they do really good, man. So yeah, I'm really excited for Hades 2.
They are killing it, and that cinematic that they showed during the direct was
so good.
Really, really cool. Yeah. I guess the other thing that is really, really expensive is the Virtual Boy coming to Nintendo Classics
Virtual Boy, yeah.
for Nintendo Switch Expansion Pass members. So they are expanding the sort of Nintendo Classics catalog with the Virtual Boy, which was something that I think was on no one's bingo card whatsoever. People are still waiting for like things like the Wii or even like the DS and 3DS to come on there. But with the Virtual Boy, you are required to have one of the accessories. So if you want the authentic Virtual Boy experience, that's going to be $100 for that plastic one. But they do have a cheaper option, $25 for cardboard. So yeah. And they are going to release all 14 games from its library over time, and it will launch on February 17th, 2026. So yeah, I did a little reaction clip, and that's probably like my most viral one on pretty much all of my platforms, because people are really that intrigued and really that surprised that the Virtual Boy is coming to coming to Switch Online, which is fair. But I think the thing for me is the fact that they are forcing you to get one of these accessories, and you can't even play it on like your TV. I guess you have to have it in like the undocked mode on the thing, and you have to play it that way. I'm sure that there's going to be some way to like bypass it or whatever, and you're probably not going to be fully required to have the sort of Virtual Boy accessory, but you know, it kind of takes away the fun of like, you know, the original authentic experience, which is probably like, if you look at it like the retro market, like I haven't looked on it on eBay, but I'm sure if you were try to get a authentic Virtual Boy, it'd probably cost you around $100 if I had to guess. And then on top of that, you have to get the games, and then you have to make sure that the games work, the system works, etc., etc. So obviously this is probably going to be like the most accessible way to experience the Virtual Boy. But then again, this is the fucking Virtual Boy. The shit flopped on release. The shit was $100 at launch. You know, is Nintendo necessarily repeating history? I don't think so. But I think that it is just very funny that they're going to charge the exact same price that they did back then, and they're only going to release all 14 games over time. I think if they just had them all released at once, or maybe even half, I think that would really give people a excuse to get this $100 piece of plastic.
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, like it's great for preservation, right? Like it's cool that we have these games playable for everyone. Well, for the most part, if you buy the $100 piece of plastic. But like you said, there's probably going to be ways to bypass maybe some sensor that blocks it in the Virtual Boy or in the cardboard that makes it so you have to use it. And you know, most of the time these games, like, they're playable 2D, but like they are meant for the experience. Like most of it is meant for the, you know, the 3D experience or whatever. So that $100 is kind of crazy for it, but I see it more as like a collector thing than anything. I know people are like really outraged or like making more of a big fuss about the Virtual Boy. You know, I'm more concerned about like the games and stuff. Like this is more just a dumb fun thing for like really hardcore Nintendo purists to get. Like I'm never gonna get it. Like it's funny, but then it would just sit on my shelf for like years, right? Like I'm gonna use it for like a day and that's it, right? So it's cool for those collectors that really want it, and it's nice to have it like in an easy, accessible way that anyone could really experience these Virtual Boy games if they're curious. I just wish Nintendo didn't make an option to just straight up play it 2D, right? Like, I think that would have been great for, like, hey, let me just try out these Virtual Boy games, like, see this, like, piece of Nintendo history, instead of, like, oh, you're forced to buy the Virtual Boy headset itself. Yeah. I think that kind of puts a damper on it. I think if it was, like, you know, an optional thing you could do, and you could just play the Virtual Boy games by themselves, I think that would have been fine. It would have been like funny. Like obviously, like do I agree like the DS or something should have came first? I mean, yeah, probably. But it's just like a fun, dumb thing that Nintendo is doing. I just think that people just wanted like not this in their first big major direct after a Switch 2, right? Like people wanted Nintendo to like really come out full swinging, like I said earlier. And instead they're like, here's the Virtual Boy for $100, right? So it kind of just leaves a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths. Yeah. But I guess the other thing I'll talk about that people aren't really talking about is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Like I feel like no one gives a shit about this game except me. Which is fair. I will say like probably the weakest Warriors game I have played, like at least from the you know, the Nintendo ones, probably is Age of Calamity. But that's because Age of Calamity had a really interesting concept of being like, hey, we're going to explore the world before Calamity began and ruined everything. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool concept. And you get to see how the divine heroes like lost their lives and all that cool stuff. Like that's a really cool story that was never told in Breath of the Wild. And then they made like this weird fan fiction thing that didn't even matter. I'm like, okay. So yeah, a lot of people got super pissed off about that, myself included. And the game itself was fine. You know, it was more Warriors gameplay. It just ran like absolute ass. So, but with this version, apparently the story is supposed to be canon this time. That's what they're saying. Like this is what happened when Zelda was like in this like in the past or whatever the fuck happened in Tears of the Kingdom. Like this is all supposed to be happening in like it's canon, right? Like it's not supposed to be fan fiction bullshit. So we'll see once I actually play the game. But the gameplay, where they showed some more gameplay in some other separate trailer they released like a day or two later, and it looks good. I mean, like it's running extremely well, almost like cursed. Like I feel like a Warriors game shouldn't run this well. Yeah. So it's great that they're able to like make it run at 60 frames. It still looks good. You know, we'll see when we get into the gameplay itself when like there's bodies flying everywhere and explosions. But you know, there's some cool mix-ups. You can use like Zonai devices. You have like the new characters to use. Zelda, I believe, is going to be the main protagonist. It'd be weird if she wasn't. So that's all cool. So I guess we'll see when it comes out. I just like warrior games. I'm gonna have a fun time regardless. It's like, you know, it's one of those game genres like Borderlands or Pokemon where I'm always gonna have fun with the base gameplay, like no matter what the game is. So it's fine. Again, $70 for this, I feel a bit more comfortable with just because warrior games provide you with a shitload of content to begin with. So I don't mind it as much. And it's coming out November, so pretty soon, which is great. You know, I said winter, so I was maybe wondering if it meant like, you know, January it might be coming out, but it seems to be very early winter, like barely winter at that point. So that's great to see. I'm still excited for it, but, you know, no one else is. So yeah.
The next game I want to talk about is Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. So yeah, this was a 3DS game that a lot of people really, really loved and really enjoyed. And then once obviously 3DS stopped, people went back and they were like, oh wait, Tomodachi Life is like a pretty funny meme game. It's kind of like Nintendo's version of like The Sims, if you will. It's kind of weird. So obviously as someone like myself who never really experienced it, I was like, oh, let me go and try to buy it on eBay. That shit's like $100 or maybe even more than that. I was like, yep, nope, not touching that. So I'm glad they're making a sequel and they're bringing it onto the original Nintendo Switch coming out spring 2026. And they showed a little bit of it. Pretty much you are just manipulating people's lives and you're just seeing how they would interact. You could put people that you know, you could put celebrities, you could make up characters in your mind. So yeah, seems like a lot of fun. Pretty much what people wanted from as a sequel for Tomodachi Life. Like I said, I don't really know much about it, but it does seem like the Nintendo Sims version of the genre, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, people are extremely excited for this game. You know, I've seen a bunch of streamers play it. It's funny when I watch them play it. I don't know if I ever play it for myself.
Yeah.
But it looks fun. You know, like you said, it's like the Sims, like Nintendo's take on the Sims game, right? So it's like wacky, it's crazy. The Mii's do a bunch of crazy shenanigans, and you know, people have a bunch of fun with it, right? It's still crazy that this game's coming out mad late. Like you thought it would like come out at least this year because they announced it like quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But no, it's still gonna be coming out like spring of next year, which is crazy. And you know, it's also crazy we haven't had any update on Rhythm Heaven, which I'm more excited for. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But yeah, people that are looking forward to Tomodachi Life, it's coming out next year. So that's pretty neat. For me, I want to bring up before I talk about more like straight up Nintendo stuff is Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. So this looks really good. It's obviously a remake of Dragon Quest VII, and it's kind of crazy. They went from like Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 to 7. Like that's weird, but sure. Mostly when I don't really hear too much about Dragon Quest 7. Like I hear a lot more about Dragon Quest 8. It's sort of like the one everyone loves. So 7 getting the remake is quite crazy, but I do like they went for a different style. It's not like the HD 2D thing. They went for a more traditional 3D sort of remake, and I think it looks great. Like when you go into battles, I'm like, oh, this shit looks really good. Yeah. So it's cool to see Square put like a lot of effort into these remakes. I know it's been rumored for so long that they're doing a Final Fantasy IX remake, and I would honestly love it if it looked like this. I still haven't played Final Fantasy IX. I would love to. Just, you know, there's been a bunch of games coming out, but hey, if they do the remake like this, I would be totally down with it because apparently that's been in development hell. But yeah, this game looks great. You know, again, haven't heard too much about this game from hardcore Dragon Quest fans. So some people are a little weirded out that's getting a remake before like anything else, but at least they're doing it justice, and I think it looks quite good. So, you know, I always like my classic turn-based RPGs, you know me, so it looks really good. So yeah.
All right, getting into more Nintendo-y stuff. We got Metroid Prime 4 Beyond confirmed for December 4th, 2025. That's pretty exciting. When the trailer first started, I was like, what the hell am I looking at? I was like, oh shit, Samus is a fucking motorcycle or whatever the hell's going on. So yeah, it seems like that they're pulling a little bit more of like open world elements for this game, which is pretty cool. And also Amiibo are coming for the game on December 4th with Silex, and then on November 6th, like a whole month before it even comes out, you could get Samus, and then also a separate Amiibo with Samus and Viola or whatever.
Yeah, Viola. That's her bike, I guess.
Her fucking bike. So, you know, it seems like that they are really trying to get Metroid fans in on the Amiibo train, but yeah, I'm still excited for it, even though I have yet to play the other Metroid Prime games. I'm excited to see how other Metroid fans and fanatics like Damian would react to this one.
Yeah, I want to say I'm a Metroid fanatic, but I have played basically all the games I could at this point. Like, you know, I played all the 2D games. I've played Metroid Prime 1 with the remaster. Still want to play 2 and 3, but they haven't remastered those yet. And yeah, I think the game looks great, even though her on a bike like is very controversial at the moment. I mean, even when they showed it at first, I'm like, whoa, what is going on? I thought it was like a different game at first. Like, what is this, like a Warriors game or something? Yeah. I'm like, oh no, it's Metroid Prime 4. You know, people are really spooked about it being an open world game because I think like an open world Metroidvania is kind of weird to begin with. I don't think it is. Like it looks more like a sort of like a hub area that you would go to. You maybe ride around to like different areas of the game, and that's kind of gonna how they segment each area of the game. Metro Prime 1 kind of did a similar thing with the Talon Overworld, where you had that area and that kind of leads us off to like maybe like the snow area and then like the lava area. So they could do something like that just on like a way larger scale. And it looks fun. Like you're on the bike doing crazy stuff. You're mostly on a desert, so it's not like that visually like stimulating. But I think it looks cool. People are really negative about it. I will say like the trailers for Metro Prime 4 have been really weird. Like I feel like they don't want to show too much, so it's not getting people that excited. So obviously the bike thing is like the first big thing they've really shown, and like people are like kind of weirded out by it. Even with her psychic powers, I haven't really shown much about it. Just like, oh, she could open doors. I'm like, all right, cool, right? So I still have a lot of faith in Retro. I mean, Retro has not really made a bad game like ever. Metroid in general is a really prestigious franchise, like, besides maybe Federation Force and Other M. But Metro Prime 4, I mean, it still looks great, and I'm still excited to play it. I just hope they are keeping a lot of things to the chest, because, I felt the same way about Tears of the Kingdom, where people were really negative about Tears of the Kingdom before it actually came out, and people, oh, never mind, this game is good, just because they weren't really showing a lot. So I think Metro Prime 4 is going to be sort of the same way, where they're not really showing a ton because it'll just spoil the surprise, right? So I guess see when it comes out. I mean, it finally has a fucking release date, right? So coming out December, December 4th. So really early December, we could finally get to play this game, and we could finally see what the fuck Retro's been cooking. So yeah.
Yes.
All right. So next everything's controversial. The DK Bonanza. They showed off DK Bonanza DLC. So this is DK Island. You can explore DK Island from Donkey Kong 64, and as well with a new game mode called Emerald Rush. And it was a shadow drop, so it came out the same day, and it was launched for $20. So there's been a lot of conversation about this DLC. For me, I was intrigued in the trailer when I'm like, the Emerald Rush is a fucking roguelite. I'm like, yes. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. I haven't really played a 3D platformer roguelite before. That's interesting. But a lot of people, have it like, hey, DK Island should have been in the base game. This DLC is only coming out like 2 months after the main game comes out. It's kind of weird that it wasn't in the main game to begin with. And there's parts of me that understands that, like maybe they could have put DK Island for free for everyone, and maybe Emerald Rush was the only thing you had to pay for. But at the same time, I do think this mode does feel a bit more substantial than something like Luigi's Balloon World.
Oh my God, yes.
That was just like...
People out here making the wildest comparisons, but go on.
Yeah, because like Luigi's Balloon World was more of a like a hide and seek, like asymmetrical multiplayer type deal, and that's not really for everyone. Like I never really cared about Luigi's Balloon World. I know people got a ton of playtime out of it, but it was a cool little update. I think this update is a lot more substantial than that. This game mode has unlocks. It has not new areas to explore, but you could unlock like other layers to play Emerald Rush in. And I think the gameplay loop is fun. So I played like a few hours of it, so I guess I could explain it. Basically, you would get launched into any level. So you could, obviously DK Island's the first one you could play on. And you have a time limit to get a quota of emeralds. And each time you get a fossil or banana, you could get a perk. And these kind of work like a standard roguelike game. So you could sort of have builds where, like, if you're in Kong mode, you get a multiplier when you kill an enemy, and you could get further multipliers for enemy specific types, or if you kill an enemy a specific way. So if you're like a Kong Bonanza, you use a charge punch on like the basic enemy dudes, like the big crocodile guys, you get like a times 1,000 multiplier and get like a shit ton of emeralds that way, right? So it's honestly like a really fun like mode. Like I think they did a good job making it really fun and addicting. It kind of reminds me of like fucking Balatro, where you're more worried about your multiplier than anything else, and like just being fast. Mm-hmm. So this game mode really rewards you for knowing the level layout and knowing where, because the fossils and bananas always stay in the same place. So if you familiarize yourself with the level layout, you can make this perfect route, gain all the bananas and fossils that you need, so you could build up your build and then just go crazy on the enemies and gain a bunch of multipliers that way. And there's other builds too. You could complete these goals that come up randomly throughout the run. So Void Kong would give you like, hey, do this. And then you do that and you get a bunch of emeralds that way. So you can make a build to focus on that. You can make a build to focus on just digging up treasures and shit. So it's like a fun game mode. Now, is it worth $20 though? That's sort of like the thing that's more subjective, I think. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm like torn about it because I think the mode is a ton of fun. But I also feel Nintendo has done this better with Splatoon 3 Side Order, which was like the same price. Like Side Order was also a roguelite mode for Splatoon 3, but that came with a new story, new assets, new bosses. Like it just had more things to do. So it's hard to say. Like, I think if they sold this for $10 or if it came packaged with NSO, that would have been perfect. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great, right? Like I don't mind paying for this, but I $20 might be a bit pushing it because there's not really any new assets. Like it's kind of just like the same maps you've been playing besides DK Island with like the extra game mode. So it's hard to say. Like I personally don't really regret spending $20 on it. I had a ton of fun with it, and I do want to play more of it to unlock all the stuff that it has to offer. But I could understand why people would be a bit peeved on it. But I still think it has a bit more content than Balloon World, where I feel more justified giving it money, I guess. Like not to sound like a Nintendo show, but like maybe $10 would have been a better price for this, or if it came with NSO. So yeah, that's sort of my mini review on that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, when we have a roguelite mode within a platformer, I was like, wait, what the fuck is Nintendo cooking here? That sounds kind of crazy. And also having it bundled in with DK Island. And then obviously afterwards it came out, hey, look, it's $20. Well, Silk Song's $20. What the fuck is this DLC $20, Nintendo? Yada, yada, yada. Obviously, I feel like I hate when people champion something else but also bring something down. Obviously this is Nintendo we're talking about, so that this is like saying, oh my god, why are people bashing on Disney or whatever. Anyways, right. This is a $20 DLC and this is what they thought was justified. And just from the trailer and from what I saw of it, I thought, oh, like $20. I think that is like the max that you could really get out of it. I think 15 is obviously a sweeter spot because you're saving the extra $5 that you could put towards whatever else. But they remade or they selected certain levels that have this Emerald Rush mode. They implemented it within those levels, and they had to go back in there and do all that stuff. DK Island as well. And to those people that said that they could have had this in the game when it launched, I'm like, you don't know the timeline of like the game development, right? Like you don't know if like after they finally went gold with Donkey Kong Bonanza that they took a break and then they're like, oh, okay, we still want to do DK Island and we still want to do this like Emerald Rush mode for fun to, give players an extra thing to look forward to after they finish the game. And it's like, okay, yeah, like that's cool. Should it have been $20? I don't know yet. I didn't buy it. Damian said it should have been cheaper, which I think is fair. But I think people are over exaggerating and really doing these super duper knee jerk reactions just because it's Nintendo and it comes to their prices, which is fair. A lot of their pricing has been really, really bad, but I think for this one, it's like not as egregious.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I honestly feel like I had more fun playing this than the Forgotten Lands DLC, which was also $20. Mm-hmm. Like, because that was just remixed levels of 12 levels you did before, just for like some new stuff and like technically like a new final boss, even though it kind of wasn't. So, like honestly, I feel like I've gotten more enjoyment out of this than the other Switch 2 like DLCs that have come out recently. So I guess that's if that's for anything, that's how I feel about that. So I say if you like Bonanza a ton and want to play more of it, I think this is a great game mode to go back to and just unlock a bunch of things, get to explore these levels, learn all the nook and crannies of it. I think it's great for that, especially if, like maybe like speed running the game. I think this is a great mode to really like get familiar with all these levels. But for anyone else that wants like just like a standard world we could explore, then yeah, I think you're going to be missing out a ton on this DLC. But for a weirdo like me that's love roguelikes, especially like really novel ones like a 3D platformer roguelike that's just really interesting to me, then yeah, I was gonna buy it regardless. So yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll tackle the Pokemon news. So they announced Pokemon Pokepia, which is like a life sim game. You play as like a Ditto.
It's Animal Crossing.
You play as like a Ditto, and he transforms, or they transform into a human, and you're just living your life amongst other Pokemon. And I mean, it seemed pretty cool. I think a lot of the recent Pokemon spin-offs have been in like that weird category of like who asked for this, but also like it's kind of cool kind of thing, what I'm saying? I think a lot of people are still hungering and really wanting something like Mystery Dungeon or something within that vein, something like a throwback nostalgia, if you will. But this being something new, I think is fine, cool, nice and dandy. And then they once again showed up Pokemon Legends ZA, and then the whole controversy with them announcing DLC before it even launched. I'll save that after Damian gives his thoughts.
Yeah, so with the Pokemon Pedia thingy, what is it called? Pokemon Topia? Poketopia? Pokepokia? Whatever the fuck it's called. It looks good. Like, I like life sim games, Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, they're a ton of fun. And I wonder how this game is going to be structured, if it's going to be structured more like Animal Crossing, where it's like a day-to-day thing, or it's more like Harvest Moon / Stardew Valley, where you could, just sleep and just progress the day. to the next day, I guess. And, it having a unique thing where you're playing as a Ditto, so you can understand Pokemon and talk to them, that's really neat. And, the Ditto child is very cursed, but, like, it's cool to be able to learn different abilities. So, like, all your harvesting tools are just abilities Ditto could copy. So you have, like, you could burn stuff, you could shoot water, like Squirtle. Like, that's cool. Like, I do like it. I just wonder, like, what else is to the game? Like, what else is the gameplay loop is going to be there besides just, like, building houses for your Pokemon? Like, is there gonna be a bit more to it? So I'm intrigued about this game, and I do like when Pokemon does weird spin-offs like this, because Pokemon is such a vast IP you can do so much with, that I'm happy that especially the Switch era has been kind of expanding that again, because I feel like there was a time where Pokemon spin-offs were kind of just dead, which is so unfortunate. But now with the we got like the Mystery Dungeon remake, we got the new Pokemon Snap, Pokken, DX. So I'm happy that we're getting these spin-offs again. So we'll see how it goes. So, but yeah, hopefully it won't be as buggy. I think Koei Tecmo is making it, so that's interesting. Or Bandai Namco is one of those two. But ZA, so ZA, they still didn't show much. It's still coming out. At this point, I'm just ready for the game to come out. Like, yeah. I'm excited for it. They showed new. There's a lot of controversy with ZA right now. So they showed the new Megas first. They showed Greninja, and the other two, Chestnut and Delphox. I think that's how you say its name. I always forget the Kalos starters besides Greninja. And they look good. Honestly, the Megas are a big improvement from their base designs, especially Chestnut. Like, Chestnut always, I thought, looked ugly as sin. But give him, like, the little cape, like, he looks sick now. But the controversy about this is you can only get their Mega Stones if you played fucking rank multiplayer, and they're, like, by seasons. So, like, Greninja would be the first one up, and that season's probably going to last a month or two, and then you gotta wait like 2 months for like fucking Chestnut or whatever. I'm like, that's stupid. So you can't even get the Kalos starter Megas unless like you, 1, pay for NSO, and then 2, wait. So like most people are just not going to use them besides maybe Greninja, and like, cool, right?
Yeah.
So that sucks. And then the second thing is the Mega Dimension DLC. So like I don't really care that much, because so many games sell season passes, like even Nintendo games. Like, I'm pretty sure didn't like Smash like start selling the season pass shortly after the game came out
or whatever.
Yeah, like Fighters Pass and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, obviously a lot of modern games do it. Like Borderlands, for example, sells the season pass right away. Like Starfield, like, here you go. You could like buy the DLC, Civ 7. Like, obviously it's not a practice that a lot of people like or are comfortable with, but it is like kind of just normal at this point. So I was actually surprised people were making such a big stink about it, because I'm just like, yeah, like that it was going to get DLC probably eventually. And anything like the major issue that a lot of people have with Legends Arceus was it didn't have DLC. That was like a big thing, because people really like Legends Arceus and they want a DLC for it. So this probably Game Freak being like, hey, we're going to support this game for further in development. And if you look at the store page for Mega Dimension, it says it's not going to come out till like February, like late February. So it's still like, it's not like it's coming out like next month, like after the game comes out, right? Like, it's still going to take a while. It being $30 is fucking pricey though, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think I forget how much the other Pokemon DLCs were. They might be the same price, but it's still like kind of a lot. So yeah, it doesn't bother me as much, because like it's still coming out way later after the game launches, and like, yeah, they're saying like, yeah, other games do it, so I guess it doesn't really bother me that much. Now, should Nintendo be conforming to these standards? Probably not, but they're already charging, like, they've charged fucking $80 for a game, so I guess it's out the fucking window. So yeah, it doesn't bother me too much, because they're probably going to do DLC anyway. But like, I understand why people are mad, and I won't tell you to not be mad, because I definitely understand how that could be a annoying prospect, being like, they're putting the shit in it should have been in the game to begin with. It should have been post game in the main game, and I understand that, because I think Pokemon games lately have been getting really light on the post game content after you beat the game, and they've been charging that as DLC basically, which honestly also isn't anything new, because like, if you look at like, I don't know, like Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, those games also had really bad post games, but then Emerald, a whole ass separate game, is the one that had all the end game content, right? Like, Pokemon's always kind of been doing that, but just do it as DLC now. So it's like, whatever. I guess I'm just conditioned to it. It's still bad, but whatever. Yeah. I don't really have anything like positive to say about it besides, yeah, it sucks to suck, but yeah, that's just how it is, I guess.
Yeah. My viewpoint on the whole, them announcing Mega Dimensions as a DLC pack for Legends EA before the game even comes out, is that I think that this is just a Pokemon company doing Pokemon things, right? Because I think Pokemon company have always done a little bit of like shady stuff, like business wise, where they're like, oh, like these Pokemon games are like they're kind of finished. We'll just release them. And then they still sell millions of copies because Pokemon fans really love Pokemon and they'll still buy it.
It's me.
So, but when it comes to, them announcing DLC before the game comes out, I'm not that surprised. And I think people that are upset are just, sort of getting into the loop again. It's like that James Franco meme, like first time kind of thing. It's like,
basically. Yeah.
Like this has been happening, I feel like, for a while. But, if you want to vote with because when it comes to me and like DLC, I might be like the weirdo in this situation, but most of the time I don't buy DLC because I feel like once I play the game and like, extra content comes out, that's cool. I'll get to it when I get to it. And 9 times out of 10, that's like never. So, and also it's like a extra cost to me forcing me to go back into a game that I already played and finished. Obviously it's new content, but I just have like a weird relationship with DLC. And also, I don't know. I just feel like promoting DLC as like a practice because, me and Damian grew up around the time when like Capcom was like fucking locking DLC on like the goddamn disc and shit like that. So, I have been scarred by like bad DLC practices and I'm glad we're past a lot of that stuff. But, whenever even like Nintendo will like the Switch 2 edition games or even something like this with Mega Dimensions, I always feel a little weird about supporting DLC post launch. But that's just me, that's me voting with my wallet for once saying I don't want this DLC from Nintendo. And, if I do want it, I will play it eventually, probably not launch day, but I will look into it at some point. But like I said, 9 times out of 10, that's like never.
Yeah, I mean, I personally really do like DLC. Like, honestly, especially Nintendo DLC, like, at least, like, prior to Switch 2, has been really good. Like, Octo Expansion is still my favorite Splatoon thing ever. I really enjoyed Side Order. Honestly, a lot of Pokemon DLCs, like it saved, like, Sword and Shield for me. Like, that would have been the worst Pokemon game I've played. But the Sword and Shield DLC made it a lot better. And same thing with Scarlet and Violet. I enjoyed the Blueberry Academy shit. Like, I thought that was fun. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Nintendo actually does do pretty good DLC. I guess we'll see if it continues. I know, like, Emerald Rush wasn't a great start for a ton of people, but I guess we'll see with ZA DLC and anything else that decides to come out. But yeah, I'm usually pretty pro DLC if they put the effort in. Like some of my favorite content in like Fallout New Vegas, for instance, was DLC content for that game. So, but yeah, I guess it depends on the developer and how much time and resources they're really putting into these things. So yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'll do. I guess I'll do like the last thing.
Yeah,
at this
we can
point.
do the
Unless
last
you want
two.
to bring some. Yeah, okay.
Do the last two.
So I guess I would start with Resident Evil Requiem and Final Fantasy. Resident Evil 7 and 8 are coming out February 27th. I don't know if they're all coming out February 27th.
Yes, they are all coming out on February 27th.
Okay, that's crazy. So you can play the whole new trilogy right there on the Switch 2. And there was a big extended trailer for RE9. And yeah, it looks good. Like I'm still like I still need to play 7 and 8 for my fucking self because I've seen 7 and 8 played by so many people at this point. I'm like I really should just play them at this point. So I need to get on that. And then for RE9, yeah, it looks great. And the fact that it's running on Switch 2 is quite the feat. Like yeah, it doesn't look as good as the other consoles, but the fact that I could run it, okay is
okay-ish.
great. Okay-ish. And the fact that it's coming out day and date is also like insane, right? Like that's pretty cool, right? So
yeah.
Now, the Switch 2 has been like really proving itself to be able to like at least play these games at a competent level. I mean, I still see gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077. I'm like, wow, this is running on Switch 2. That's insane. Yeah. So it's cool that, if the developers really make the time for to optimize it for the Switch 2. And, optimization has been a huge fucking problem in terms of everyone right now. Like Borderlands 4 is supposed to launch on Switch 2 and like that thing's going to explode on that thing. So, but it's cool that Capcom is giving a lot of attention to the Switch 2 and are wanting to support it further, especially with like a big blockbuster game like RE9 coming out. So
yeah, it is really, really dope to see Capcom be like, hey, yeah, Resident Evil 9 Requiem is going to launch day and day, February 27th on the other platforms and also Switch 2. And guess what, Nintendo fans, you could also play the other 2 Resident Evil games that are part of like this trilogy, Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8. So yeah, that is really, really dope. And I'm glad to see that Capcom is supporting this new console, because, I feel like when it comes to Nintendo, they are always underpowered to a certain extent. And I'm glad that they now have a console that could at least somewhat compete with PlayStation and Xbox. Obviously, it's not like 1-to-1, but, it's able to run the games at a competent level, kind of thing. And then the final announcement,
last one, yeah,
final announcement was Fire Emblem. And obviously people were like, "Oh my god, final announcement! What is it?" And then it's Fire Emblem, and people were like, "Yep, turning the stream off." Me personally, I have a weird relationship with Fire Emblem, right? Because I got into the series with Awakening on the 3DS, just like a lot of other people did, and I really love that game. That's probably like my top two, easy. Animal Crossing and that game, top two favorite games on that console. And then it was the game after, I think it was Fire Emblem Fates, which was like the sort of like dual split game, but I got it with both of them together. So, I played that. I liked the gameplay, but I felt like the story wasn't really there. I mean, to be honest, I kind of play Fire Emblem just for the gameplay most of the time. And then Three Houses came out, which is the Switch game, and I tried that. You play as like the teacher, right, or whatever. And I was like, yeah, like it's cool, it's fine. But I think at the time I was still in college, so I was like, I can't really invest like hours into like a RPG right now or whatever. So I was like, let me not get too deep into it.
It took me like 70 hours to beat it.
Yeah, so I was like, let me like not do that. But it's been like so long since I played a Fire Emblem game. This might be my jump back into it. I don't know for sure, but this is the newest entry for the series. We could assume that it is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. It is called Fortune's Weave, and it is going to come out sometime within 2026.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you want a good jumping on point, like I know people clown on Engage, but I do think gameplay wise, it is the best Fire Emblem game. It's
I might
so
have
good.
that. I think I bought it at Best Buy when it was like on sale or something.
Like the story is pretty fucking bad. Like you could, like honestly, you could just skip all of it. Like there's a point where I did like it because of how dumb it was, but like the story is definitely isn't that game's strong suit. But the gameplay is super fun. Like that is definitely like it's very Awakening coded as well. Like you have like just like the map, and then you can like move your guy, and that's it. So Awakening, Engage, I have a lot of good things to say about it because I thought it was great. And Three Houses is like my favorite Fire Emblem game. Like I do think like that game, like I love the sort of the social aspect of it where you could play as like a teacher and you could like you sort of like teach your students, but it also levels up their stats in battle and you get to decide what unit they want to be. And then you have the battles, which are a ton of fun. Obviously, I don't think the maps were as good as Engage, but it was still like extremely good. Like I love the different routes. I love the story in that game. The music was great. And so when Fortune's Weave was announced, I was actually shocked to learn that it's a sequel or prequel to Three Houses because fucking Sothis is at the end and she's like a major character in Three Houses. And even just watching the trailer, I'm like, is this like fucking Three Houses land? And it is because you have all the three nations. So and people don't know if it's a sequel or prequel yet. I don't fucking know. All I know is it's connected to Three Houses. Like all the battle mechanics looks like it's from Three Houses as well. You have the Gambit system where you can like move your guys and like destroy their formations and shit. I think you have like the relic weapons or whatever they were called from that game in the cutscenes. So it does seem to be strongly connected to Three Houses, which is really neat to see. And personally, I fucking love Fire Emblem. Travis actually got me into the series to begin with. He was like, "Oh, have you ever played like Awakening or like Fire Emblem?" I'm like, "No, I haven't." And then I played it and I fucking loved it. And then ever since then, I basically played every single one that came out since Awakening. So yeah, I'm excited for Fortune's Weave. Ending it on Fire Emblem. You get the typical things from all the Nintendo YouTubers being like, "Oh, it's not Mario or Zelda," and then they like panic, right? and like I said in the top, like this time I am a bit more understanding about it because it is the first big direct of the Switch 2, so I understand that these people want something to look forward to. But like you have to understand that, like what I said at the beginning of this discussion is Donkey Kong Bonanza is the 3D Mario right now. Like that's what it is, right? Like you don't have to view it that way, but that's what it is. Tears of the Kingdom, right? Came out not that too long ago, so we're not gonna get a Zelda game, and Sakurai's making Air Riders. So like we're not gonna get any of those big games people wanted for a while. But I still don't think the Switch 2 is bad at all. Like it has a lot of bad elements to it, like the price point, which we've been talking about ad nauseum this whole time. Because the price points are bad, but I feel like the games are there. Like this first 6 months, we got Mario Kart World. Say what you want about it, it's still a good game. Like Mario Kart World, Bonanza, which is like a 10 out of 10. We're getting Metroid, we're getting Kirby, we're getting Pokemon, we're getting Hyrule Warriors. And that's all this first 6 months.
And so if you didn't have a Switch before, you got all the Switch 2 edition games.
Yeah, and you have all the Switch 2 edition games too. So like if you never experienced Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, you can play those games in beautiful 60 FPS, and that's great, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Switch 2 has been good in terms of games. And, I know this announcement wasn't great for a ton of people. For me, I fucking love Fire Emblem, so this was a great announcement for me. But for a lot of people, they just wanted to see more. But I still feel like saying this is, because I've been seeing so many wild takes on Twitter being like this was the worst direct ever. And I'm like, I highly disagree with that. Like, that farming direct was way worse. Even though I didn't even think that was that bad to begin with, but I feel like that probably was one of the worst directs.
And any direct during like the Wii U era was,
oh my god, the Wii U
bad.
era was terrible. And dude, like, people say like, oh, this is like the worst launch for a Nintendo console ever. And I literally just go back to the 3DS and Wii U. Like, I lived it.
Yes.
The 3DS had fucking Steel Diver and like Pilot Wings for 6 months. Like that, like who gives a shit? And the Wii U only had New Super Mario Bros. U and Nintendo Land for a full fucking year until Pikmin 3 came out. So it's a good launch. I think people are just soured about what type of games are coming out for the thing and the price points, which I can't even be like mad about. I'm like, yeah, I totally understand that. Like, I would say like if you bought a Switch and are having some regret about it, like, I get it. Like, you're expecting like the new 3D Mario, the 3D Zelda, but it's just not going to happen for a while, unfortunately. So, and for me, I just like every Nintendo franchise. So like, I'm gonna like, I like basically anything Nintendo puts out that's like high quality. Like, I'm gonna enjoy it regardless because I just like all their IPs. But if you're just like a Mario fan, like sorry, I guess. But yeah. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good direct. I don't know. I liked it. So.
Yeah, outside of the prices, just looking at the direct and what the information was provided, ignoring the $70 Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 bundle and the $100 Virtual Boy plastic accessory, it's like a lot of the things that they announced, I felt like were valid and I think really did get people excited for what they announced, right? Like, people obviously love Galaxy 1 and 2. Oh shit, it's coming to Switch. Holy fuck. And it's pretty soon, October 2nd. The price points are pretty bad, $40 each or $70. But like I said, the content's there. People really like these things and, people are pretty excited for them. Sure, if you're not a Fire Emblem fan, yeah, sure, that last announcement isn't for you. But then again, I feel like if you look at like the Fire Emblem timeline, Damian's probably going to be a lot more knowledgeable than me than this. But, Three Houses came out around like 2020, 2020
or something, 2019.
Jesus Christ, yeah, it came out a while ago, pretty much. It came out a real long time ago.
Yeah, it's weird because Engage was technically done for years and it's just like we're holding on to it. So like that's why Engage came out 2023. So it's only been like 2 years since Engage came out. But like that game has been ready forever. And apparently they started development on this game on like 2021 or something. 2020 they started development in Fortune's Weave. So yeah, the timeline is really weird for them because Nintendo likes to hoard games, right? And honestly, bad news for people that don't like RPGs. I think Monolith, the people that make Xenoblade, are next in line to like release their game. So like, if we end another direct with like a Xenoblade or like another JRPG, like get ready for that. That's probably what's going to happen because it's been like quite a while since Xenoblade 3 came out. So, yeah.
My sort of tin hat foil theory is that I think a lot of people don't like Fire Emblem because when the Smash character announcements were coming out, it's like, oh shit, it's another fucking Fire Emblem character.
100%. Yeah.
That's probably why a lot of people are soured towards that series. But Fire Emblem is still pretty good. It's like they're pretty much like flagship RPG series, and I think
it's been since the Famicom, man.
Yeah.
Like it's still one of the oldest like running series. Like they're gonna respect it.
And most of the time they're pretty damn good, and you don't really have to play from the start. Like
Not really, yeah.
Like what we said, we both started with Awakening, and Damian's been a fan ever since. I still got to get back into it because, RPGs are something that I struggle with just because they fucking take so long, and I feel like I can play all these other things. It's the same thing when people talk about like anime. It's like fucking One Piece, like 1,000 episodes. But if you start, like I'm on like chapter like 500, and it's still really good. Like I'm enjoying it like that. But anyways, the direct as a whole, I think it was pretty damn good. Maybe not like 10 out of 10 perfect, probably like something closer to like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. But still,
that's fair.
There's a lot of great things to look forward to here. And I think that people that are upset that there's not a new 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, it's like, you're fucking greedy. Like, just chill. Yeah. Like, just chill out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just like look at the development timelines, and like, it just doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I guess the next thing they showed was Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection, but this was only in Japan.
Yes, this was only in the Japan Direct, but people were fucking hyped about this, including me.
Yeah.
So my backstory with this is that Kofi, our other best friend, he was telling me when we were kids, like, yo, bro, you got to get Mega Man Star Force 3, whether it's Black Ace or Red Joker, get that. I was like, you know what? I will. I never did. And now I look on eBay and those games are like $100 fucking each or some shit. Like Mega Man Star Star Force has really become like sort of infamous, or maybe sort of like the elusive Mega Man spin-off series that a lot of people want to get into, but it's just so fucking expensive. And this 25-second announcement trailer got me really excited, because now every single game is on there, and I'm like, you know what, now I can actually buy it, purchase it. I think it's going to be available on pretty much every single mainline platform, including PS4. So, to those that are looking forward to that. But yeah, it's going to come out 2026. I'm obviously hyped for it, because now I could finally fucking play Star Force 3, and Kofi could be hopefully proud of me a little bit. But, as someone who grew up with the Battle Network games, I think that the Star Force games are pretty much within that same vein.
Yeah, they are. They're basically like the sequel series to that, like kind of like Mega Man to Mega Man X, sort of. Mm-hmm. I still never played a Battle Network game. I really should get on that, because I do want to play like Battle Network and the Star Force games, because it's kind of like the few Mega Man media I haven't played. Like I've played Mega Man, I played Mega Man X, I played ZX. I haven't played this, so yeah, it'll be nice to play it.
Okay, right. Do you want to take Life is Strange, and then I'll take Daredevil after?
Sure. So Life is Strange, it's a series they ordered for Prime Video. The game writers are not involved in this project. So we've been kind of seeing that a lot lately. Like I think for God of War, I believe the writers also, like the game writers weren't really involved in it either. Obviously with Last of Us, Neil Druckmann dropped out of it because he was too busy working on Interstellar. Or not, right? Is that no Intergalactic? Intergalactic. Sorry,
close enough.
Intergalactic. Yeah. So like he also kind of dropped writing duties for that show as well. And it kind of mixed results. I think if the writers or directors really understand what they're working with here, they could get it down right? And like I'm not saying like that the main writer should be the only one with control, especially when you're adapting it for TV. Like it's a different medium, so you're gonna need different expertise to really get it down right. But it could be a bit scary not to have like anyone involved in it, and like it could just lead to like some bad things happening. But I do think Life is Strange could obviously work as a TV show, because like it fits extremely well. You can have like each of the chapters be like, I don't know, like an episode, but you could definitely make them like maybe split it like for each episode, and I think it could work pretty fine. There's not too much CG involved, like maybe just with some of the time travel. Like I do think it can make for a decent TV show, and just the overall. It fits the teen drama and stuff. Like, it felt like it was built for TV in mind, right? So, yeah. This makes more sense than like fucking God of War to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Life is Strange being adapted into a television series sounds pretty cool. As fans of the franchise, being able to see Max Caulfield adapted for television, I think is pretty cool. I think the games themselves are pretty, newbie friendly. There's not a lot of like super intense or deep gameplay elements. It's really about that story. So to not have any of the writers from the game on the television show, like you said, Damian, could have mixed results with the Last of Us show. Obviously, Neil Druckmann, that is like fucking his baby. He's like, you know what? Yeah. I need to be there. And he was there. He was there for the first two seasons. First season, really excellent, really, really good. Season 2, definitely not so great. But, when Neil Druckmann was there, when he did have pretty much total or mostly creative control over the flashback episode between Joel and Ellie, it was like, okay, yeah, like that is like the best episode of season 2. And now he's gone for season 3. It's like, okay, yeah, like now we'll truly see like what's gonna happen after that. But there have been other really great adaptations within gaming that don't involve the OG creators directly. Sonic movies. I think that is like a very clear example where you have people that are really passionate about the sort of IP, and they are able to create, really great films or television, etc., and really do that character justice. Obviously, with the Sonic movies, it took 3 movies to get there. But, even then, every single movie was still really enjoyable. And I think Sonic fans really got a kick out of them. And then by the third one, pretty much critics and everyone else can agree, yeah, like these Sonic movies are pretty damn good. But yeah, just seeing what they're able to do with this Life is Strange show is going to be very, very interesting. they don't need to have the original writers on deck, but I think having someone that was there when they were developing the show could be handy, not just for writing purposes, but also be like, hey, like we wanted to do this for the game, but maybe we could adapt it into the show, and maybe that could be something really, really cool for the fans to see, because obviously people like us, we know how the story is going to play out, but maybe they change it up a little bit or whatever for this adaptation to maybe modernize it for new viewers and audiences. But we'll have to wait and see. I think the sort of writer, Christian Devine, coming out on Twitter being like, hey, like we're not involved with it. I think that could have mixed reactions, because maybe they were going to reach out and maybe they just forgot. But now that he publicly sort of was like, hey, I'm not involved, it's like, maybe they just won't reach out anymore. So, I just hope the best for this show. But then again, this is Amazon. I think Amazon have had really mixed results when it comes to a lot of their series. Obviously, Fallout is like the sort of golden child of...
Yeah, it's very good.
the golden child of the bunch, but we'll just have to wait and see where this Life is Strange one takes us.
Yep.
All right, last bit of the show we got is Daredevil Born Again confirmed for season 3. Apparently, IGN was able to get a chat with Brian Winterbaum, who is the head of streaming television and animation at Marvel Studios, and he has confirmed that season 3 has been greenlit and they will start shooting next year. So yeah, very, very excited, obviously, as a massive Daredevil fan, and the fact that they are now doing this yearly, like on a yearly schedule, is super duper dope. I think Marvel has really realized that, hey, like even though they really like to do the television series and being another outlet to expand their Marvel Cinematic Universe, them doing the TV shows on a much lower budget and also street level and much more practical, they're like, hey, we could actually get these things out in a much faster pace and keep audiences engaged. And with something like Daredevil that already has a massive fan base and people really, really stoked and excited to see what season 2 is going to bring, them already greenlighting season 3 is super duper exciting. So yeah, that just says to me that, hey, Marvel watched season 2. They're like, we got to get season 3 in order. And maybe they're piecing together with Spider-Man. Maybe freaking Vincent D'Onofrio is actually going to be within a Spider-Man movie as Kingpin. We'll just have to wait and see, because, there's rights issues with that and all this other legal mumbo jumbo that's going on there. But, I'm just happy that we're actually getting another season of Daredevil with this cast, with this crew, because, it's been so freaking long. I've been stuck in limbo within like Netflix jail, just like, yeah, like these guys are canon, right? They're canon, right? And now that they're finally within the MCU proper and they're actually getting a lot more content ahead, I'm just excited.
Yeah, it's great to see them get a season 3, and it's great to see the turnaround for the show, because like you said, it's a street level show. So, and there probably isn't a ton of CG to do. Obviously they added some in season 1 where like sometimes he was just CG for no fucking reason, or when he's swimming around. But I feel like it's very unnecessary. Like most of the strengths of Daredevil are very grounded. It's very much on the drama. The action is very grounded, not really fantastical either. So you don't really need a ton of post-process like stuff. At least I would hope. So yeah, it makes sense to have it be like a more of a yearly show. And I'm hoping. Season 1 was a pretty mixed bag. There was a lot of old elements from the original show that was supposed to be, that was sort of like infecting like how good Born Again could truly be. And we got to see a bit of that with episode 1, and especially with the last few episodes, like the last 2 episodes in particular. So with Born Again season 2, I am really expecting them to bring the A game, because I thought those last 2 episodes were great, and I want to see them continue to do that and really live up to the legacy of the Netflix show, because that Netflix show again was extremely fucking good. So, and I'm happy that they see, Marvel sees faith in this and they want to continue doing this show. And, just maybe they want to tell a longer form story, or they want, like you said, maybe bring in fucking Spider-Man. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm excited to see either way, because, I think this cast and crew deserves it. Again, like Charlie Cox is like amazing as Daredevil, and Matt Murdock and all these other characters as well. So I love that they're not just going away. It's not like some failed Disney Plus show with the others. Like it's going to be like a thing now. And hopefully Marvel sort of kind of picks up what Netflix was doing with the Defenders, and kind of do make Disney Plus like the place where street level heroes could have their time to shine. Because I feel like we've learned that having the more big budget heroes, like it just isn't worth it on a Disney Plus show. So maybe having more drama based street level characters works just better for the medium, you know? So
yeah, it's also cheaper.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. And cheaper, yeah. And it takes less time to make. So
it's a lot cheaper, less time to make. You know, you don't really have to rely on a lot of CG, and you don't have to work with other people's schedules that may also be appearing within the films or whatever, you know, because they are currently sticking with the television format for Daredevil and his career. Obviously, John Bernthal's Punisher is going to be within Spider-Man, but outside of that, we don't know anything else just yet. But I'm still crossing my fingers that Charlie Cox's Daredevil is going to appear within a Spider-Man movie at some point within the future, because, you know, if you're going to bring Punisher, you got to bring Daredevil as well. So, yeah, you know, just excited to see what the future brings for Daredevil. And also, they are the first Disney Plus show to earn a third season, rightfully so.
Hell yeah.
So,
let's go.
Yeah. That is it for this week's episode. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
No, that's about everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 172. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.